I was listening to the Republican convention, and I'm sure that I heard the Republicans are the party that freed um, the slaves, that abolished slavery. It was said to like influence or persuade the black voters to the Republican Party. Now, and so what I wanted to do today is I wanted to basically like provide some facts for you. Now, in my opinion, you can vote for whomever you choose to vote for, but personally, when it comes down to manipulation, I hate to be deceived. I hate for somebody to, to try to trick me or fool me into doing something. I'd rather for you to tell me the truth, and then I choose on my own, than for you to lie to me, and then I make my decision based on you lying. Okay, so anyway, so I want to give you some facts, so that you can make an informed decision. Okay, so here's what we know about slavery. Okay, during slavery, um, during slavery, it was the South that really owned slaves and basically refused to like relinquish their ownership of slaves. Okay, so this is why the slaves would escape to the north to freedom. Okay, that should be known. Okay, um, so basically, the North was against slavery, and the South was for slavery. The North was against slavery, and the South was for slavery. Okay, we understand that. So the northern states were Republican, and going a bit further, they were in support of, they were like the party of big government. Okay, whereas the southern states would have been Democrats, and they were in support of small government. Okay, this led to the Civil War between the North and the South, between the Republicans and the Democrats. Okay, and the Civil War was between 1861 to 1865. Okay, Lincoln, who was the Republican president, um, remember, those that were in support of big government ultimately abolished slavery. So, yes, it was the Republican Party that abolished slavery. However, it is deeper than that. Here's what you need to consider. During this time, um, the West was being settled. Okay. And due to the West being settled, there was a new voter that was targeted. Okay, and both parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, were trying to gain that vote. So in comes a man by the name of William Jennings Bryan. William Jennings Bryan. He was a Democrat. Okay, and he had a great deal of influence. William Jennings Bryan. He had a great deal of influence during this period. So I think he had ran for the presidency, maybe like two or three times. Okay, so why is he important? Well, let me tell you why he is important. He's important. With slavery no longer being a one of the main issues of the time. Okay, um, Brian basically had beliefs concerning the government's role in social justice. Okay, now the amazing thing, the thing that was strange about this was normally um, something connected to the Republican Party. Okay, so he was a Democrat. This was something that was normally connected to the Republican Party. Okay, But basically, these beliefs that he had uh, concerning the government's role in social justice um, basically blurred the lines between the Republicans and the Democrat. His belief, his influence blurred the lines between the two parties, so they were no longer cut and dry. Well, what ended up happening because of this is this caused a shakeup in the political parties. The Democratic Party, who formerly favored it, small government, became the party of big government. And the Republican Party, who formerly favored big government, became committed to limiting the federal power. So basically, what happened is there was a switch. There was a switch. So the Republicans became Democrats and the Democrats became Republicans. Okay. So when you get down to Lyndon B. Johnson in 1964, when he was signing the Civil Rights Act, by the time he comes into play, this thing is in full swing. Okay. And it is reported that after Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that he said, this is an important game, talking about the Civil Rights Act. But I think we just delivered the South to the Republican Party for a long time. And guess what? He was right. Now let me show you this. I want to show you because remember, let me show you this slide before. This was the Democrats in 1861. Okay. And now when we go to even we look at 2020, you basically have the Democrats in 1861 is now the Republicans in 2020. And I want you to look at this. It's basically the same states, basically the same states, except the parties have switched. The parties have switched. Technically, it was the Republicans which abolished slavery. However, the Republican Party now would have been the Democratic Party of that era, and therefore not the party that abolished slavery. You see that? So, in other words, to switch it, the Democratic Party of today, the Democratic Party of today would have been the party which freed the slaves during that era because of that switch. Okay. And like I said, at the end of the day, you vote for whoever you choose to vote for. However, you need to be informed about what happened. How did the Republicans free the slaves, but now most black folk are Democrat, and this is the reason why. It is because of that switch which happened. That switch that was based on one man, William Jennings Bryan. William Jennings Bryan. Because of that one man, everything switched.